Did you know that most gardeners waste 90% of their time and energy on cucumber beds, harvesting only a fraction of what they could gain? It usually looks the same. We buy expensive seeds, dig the soil until our backs ache, water daily with a heavy watering can, and by midsummer we see only yellow leaves and a handful of crooked fruits. But what would you say if I told you there is a method that big garden centers keep quiet about? A method that allows you to harvest up to 15 kilos of crispy, perfect cucumbers from just one bush with absolutely minimal effort on your part. Zero tedious weeding, zero standing with a garden hose every evening, and zero deep digging. It's not magic. It's simply smart, lazy gardening based on the laws of nature. Today we will debunk the biggest myths that are costing you your harvest. I will show you step by step how to prepare the site, how to plant, and how to train the plants so they work for you and not the other way around. Be sure to stay with me until the very end, because the final rule regarding shoot formation is an absolute breakthrough that doubles the number of female flowers. Get ready for a real revolution in your vegetable garden. Before we move on to specific actions, we need to understand who we are really dealing with. A cucumber is not an ordinary plant. It is a tropical vine that has a love for extreme heat, high humidity, and a very specific root environment encoded in its genes. Imagine the cucumber as a very picky aristocrat in the vegetable world. Its root system is extremely shallow, delicate as a spider web, and grows just below the surface of the soil. When we try to treat it like an ordinary potato, subjecting it to cold soil, moisture fluctuations, and constant hoeing around the stem, the plant immediately falls into immense stress. And a stressed cucumber is a plant that drops its flowers, stops growing, and becomes a perfect target for fungal diseases. The whole secret to getting 15 kilos from one bush lies in creating jungle-like conditions for it, but in a way that is automated by nature itself. Our goal is to build a self-sufficient system that will retain heat, hold water, and constantly provide food, freeing us from daily drudgery. Understanding this biological need for heat and peace in the root zone is the foundation of our strategy today. Did you know that the biggest mistake almost all gardeners make at the very beginning is deeply digging the cucumber beds? We have always been taught that the soil must be loosened to the depth of a spade, but the truth is completely different and will be a real shock to many of you. As I mentioned, the cucumber's root system is extremely shallow and delicate. It grows just below the soil surface, looking for oxygen and moisture there. Imagine these roots as a delicate, intricately woven spider web. When you dig up the soil and then stand on it during maintenance, you destroy the natural structure of the soil and tear these microscopic blood vessels of the plant. Instead of struggling with a shovel, I propose a method that will save your back and significantly increase your yields. It's the idea of a lazy, no-dig bed. Simply lay a layer of plain, gray cardboard without colored prints on the surface of the undug, weed-covered soil. This cardboard will act as a protective shield that will completely smother the weeds by cutting off their access to sunlight. Underneath, earthworms will begin their hard work, naturally loosening the soil for us and aerating it better than any rototiller. This is absolutely the first and most important step to creating a smart garden bed. Leave the shovel in the shed. Your cucumbers don't need it at all, and you will gain plenty of free time. Now that we have our cardboard base, it's time to build on it what cucumbers love most, a compost heater. On top of the cardboard layer, we throw a thick, at least 10-centimeter layer of organic matter. This can be grass clippings, leaves, a little straw, compost, and manure. We are creating something like a garden lasagna. Why is this so important? Because as this organic matter slowly decomposes, it begins to generate natural heat from below. Remember how I said the cucumber is a tropical plant? Thanks to this thick organic layer, we provide it with a kind of underfloor heating that works 24 hours a day. When early summer nights are still cool and the temperature drops, the roots of our cucumbers sit in pleasantly warm compost. This ensures the plant doesn't suffer thermal shock and develops continuously and rapidly. Moreover, this same layer acts like a massive sponge that absorbs water during rain and releases it slowly during a drought. In this way, we have eliminated the two biggest problems: cold from below and the need for constant soil loosening. Such a bed is an investment you make once a season, and it rewards you all summer long, working quietly and efficiently beneath the surface. Another myth to debunk concerns the very moment of sowing seeds. Most of us simply throw dry seeds into the ground and wait, hoping for quick emergence. But a smart gardener knows that this process can be accelerated, giving the plants a powerful boost. Instead of traditional soaking in plain water, use a simple trick with wood ash. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of sifted hardwood ash in a liter of lukewarm water and let it sit for 12 hours. Then soak a cotton cloth in this solution, place the cucumber seeds on it, cover them, and set them in a very warm place for 2 days. Such an ash solution is a natural potassium and microelement bomb. The seeds will not only germinate faster, but right at the swelling stage, they will absorb substances that strengthen their resistance to early seedling diseases. When you see small white sprouts after 2 days, you know you are planting seeds that are 100% alive and full of vigor. You don't waste time on empty spots in the rows where nothing grows. This little home treatment takes literally 5 minutes of work, yet it guarantees that your bushes will grow thick, strong, and ready to produce kilograms of fruit from day one. Let's move on to the planting technique itself, because here too lies a huge secret to abundant harvests. Forget about planting in flat rows. We will use the cluster method. On our previously prepared warm lasagna bed, we make a small hole in our organic layer. We pour in a handful of good compost soil mixed with a little worm castings, and in such a nest we place 2 or 3 pre-sprouted seeds. It is important not to plant them too deep. 2 cm below the surface is the absolute maximum, but the most important thing in all this is the spacing. People often plant cucumbers too densely, believing that more bushes will yield more fruit. This is a tragic mistake. Densely planted cucumbers fight each other for sun, water, and nutrients. A lack of airflow between the leaves is a straight path to powdery mildew and the immediate death of the entire crop. Give them space. Imagine you are providing them with a luxury apartment, not a spot on a crowded bus during rush hour. Leave at least 50 cm of spacing between individual clusters. Only a strong, well-lit bush with a massive root system will be able to feed and support the promised 15 kg of fruit. Less means much, much more in this case. Let's pause for a moment on a topic that keeps every beginner gardener awake at night. Watering. There is a very dangerous myth that cucumbers should be watered a little bit every day. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you water the soil lightly every day, the water stays only on the very surface. The plant's roots, being clever mechanisms, have no reason to grow downward. They develop only on the surface itself. Then comes one scorching hot day. The top layer of soil dries out in 3 hours, and your cucumber immediately wilts and drops its fruit sets because it has no access to deeper moisture reserves. The smart approach is to train the plant from a young age. Water less frequently, for example, every 3 or 4 days, but do it very generously, pouring up to 10 liters of water under a single plant. The water must soak in deeply, encouraging the roots to follow it into the lower layers of our lazy bed. Thanks to this, in the middle of summer, when extreme heat reaching 30 degrees Celsius arrives, your cucumber bushes with a deep and extensive root system won't even notice the drought. They will continuously pump water to the growing fruits, while your neighbor's cucumbers will wilt like paper. But that's not all you need to know about watering. Water temperature is a factor that determines the life or death of your crops. Remember how I said the cucumber is an aristocrat from the tropics? Pouring ice-cold water straight from a garden hose or a deep well onto its sun-warmed roots is a murderous shock to it. Imagine stepping out of a hot sauna straight under an ice-cold shower. The plant reacts the exact same way. It immediately constricts its vessels, blocks the uptake of any nutrients for several days, and worst of all, severely weakens its immunity. Therefore, in a smart garden, water for cucumbers must always sit and warm up in the sun. Place an old barrel, bathtub, or large buckets near the beds and fill them in the morning. By evening, the water will be at a perfect, pleasantly warm temperature to the touch. Only such warmed, settled, and chlorine-free water will allow the roots to immediately absorb moisture along with fertilizers. This is a free and incredibly simple habit that drastically reduces the risk of root diseases and ensures the fruits grow without the bitter aftertaste that is often the result of thermal stress. Once our cucumbers have put out 4 true leaves, the crucial moment for the first strategic feeding arrives. At this stage, the plant needs a massive nitrogen boost to build strong stems and a large leaf mass, which will later act as solar panels producing energy for the fruits. Instead of reaching for expensive chemical granular fertilizers, we will make something that is completely free and 100 times more effective. We will prepare a classic nettle tea. This is pure liquid gold for vegetables. We gather young, stinging nettles before they start blooming. We stuff them into a plastic bucket, cover them with water, and let them sit for 2 weeks, stirring daily. When the mixture stops foaming and takes on a characteristic, not-so-pleasant smell, it is ready to use. We dilute this extremely strong concentrate in a ratio of 1 liter of nettle tea to 10 liters of water, and water our young bushes, after first watering them with plain water so as not to burn the roots. Nitrogen in such a natural form is instantly absorbed by the plant. You will see literally overnight how the leaves turn dark green and the bush begins to grow right before your eyes, creating the massive skeleton necessary to carry future multi-kilogram harvests. It's time for the absolute most important secret that popular guides keep quiet about, and which is the key to getting those incredible 15 kilos. I'm talking about the practice known as blinding the lower part of the main stem. When your cucumber starts climbing upward and puts out its first flowers and small side shoots at a height of up to 50 centimeters from the ground, your gardener's heart tells you to rejoice over them. That's a mistake. You must ruthlessly pinch off all flowers, cucumber fruit sets, and small tendrils with your fingers up to the 4th or even 5th leaf from the bottom. Why do we do this? If you allow the plant to nourish these first cucumbers right near the ground, all its energy and resources will go into that single small fruit. This will block the development of a massive root system and stunt upward growth. By removing these first fruit sets, we act like a smart investor. We give up a small profit now to force the plant to invest all its energy into growing roots in a thick main stem. After a dozen or so days, this strong machine will explode with a mass of flowers on the upper sections, and more than compensate you for those removed first pieces. It is this knowledge that separates amateurs harvesting 2 kilos per bush from true masters of lazy gardening. Another powerful tool in our arsenal is vertical growing. Letting cucumbers sprawl freely on the ground is the worst thing you can do in a home garden. Leaves lying on wet soil are an open gate for every fungal spore in the area, and fruits rotting in the mud are simply a waste of your hard work. Furthermore, leaves lying flat overlap each other, stealing light and blocking airflow. We must guide our cucumbers upward toward the sun, build a simple structure out of wooden poles, or hang a special trellis netting between 2 solid posts. When we force the plant to climb vertically, each of its leaves becomes a maximally efficient solar panel, perfectly angled toward the rays. The wind flows freely between the shoots, instantly drying the morning dew, which means fungal diseases simply have no conditions to develop. Harvesting cucumbers from such a green wall is pure pleasure. You don't have to bend down. The fruits are clean, uniform, perfectly visible, and don't hide under a thicket of leaves only to unexpectedly turn into yellow, overgrown giants. Vertical growing is a guarantee of health for the plants and absolute convenience for you. However, just hanging the netting is not enough. You need to properly tie the plant and direct its growth. Cucumbers have tendrils, but when growing for a record harvest, we have to help them a little. We never tie the string tightly around the main stem near the root. The cucumber stem thickens significantly over time, and a tight knot could strangle it, cutting off the flow of sap and killing the entire bush in just a few days. Instead, make a very loose loop right at the ground, and then gently wrap the string around the main stem, guiding it spirally upward every time the plant grows by 20 cm. Always perform this procedure in the afternoon or evening. Early in the morning, the stems and leaves of the cucumber are maximally turgid with water, plump, and extremely brittle. Trying to bend them at dawn usually ends in breaking a beautiful, healthy shoot. In the afternoon, when the sun has slightly softened them, the plant becomes pliable, flexible, and easy to shape. Remember, treat the plant with tenderness like a delicate instrument, and it will reward you with reliable growth straight toward your designated goal. When our vertical cucumbers begin to bloom en masse and set small fruits, their diet must change drastically. The nitrogen we fed them from the nettles must take a back seat. Now, potassium becomes king. Without an adequate amount of potassium, you will notice the edges of the leaves starting to dry out. The fruits will take on the shape of funny light bulbs with a narrow end, and inside they will become hollow and bitter. To avoid this, we once again reach for the magic from our home hearth. We prepare a natural ash extract. We pour 5 liters of hot water over half a liter of sifted wood ash and leave it for 2 days. We dilute this ready solution with water again and water the bushes once every 10 days. Potassium acts as a transport system in the plant, instantly moving water and sugars straight to the growing cucumbers. It is exactly what is responsible for that wonderful crunchiness and sweet taste of every picked fruit. Additionally, this alkaline drink fantastically deacidifies the root environment, preventing many pathogens. This one free fertilizer can save your harvest and guarantee the highest quality of fruit throughout the long weeks of fruiting. Now that we have a strong base and excellent fertilization, we must tame the wild nature of the side shoots. If you let the bush grow in every direction, it will create a massive thicket of leaves at the expense of the fruit. We will use the inverted pyramid method. Remember how we removed everything up to half a meter? Moving higher, from half a meter to a meter, we leave the side shoots but prune them after the first leaf and the first cucumber. Above a meter in height, we allow the side shoots to grow up to 2 leaves and 2 cucumbers, and at the very top of the netting, we leave 3 leaves. Why exactly like this? Imagine a Christmas tree, only turned upside down. This way, the most leaf mass and fruit are located at the very top, where access to the sun is best and where the most fresh air circulates. The bottom remains airy, which protects against fungi evaporating from the moist soil. This method forces the bush to maintain an absolute balance between energy production and fruit production. This is true agricultural engineering at the garden plot level, which yields such magnificent results and leads us straight to the promised 15 kilom. We must now address an issue that many of us pay no attention to, but without which there is no chance of a harvest: pollination. If you planted traditional varieties that have male and female flowers, you are 100% dependent on pollinating insects. When the summer is cool, rainy, or there is a lack of bees in the area, you can have a bush covered in flowers and harvest only a few fruits. Therefore, in a lazy, smart garden, it is worth using a simple trick to attract pollinators. Lightly spray the plants with a solution of 1 tablespoon of real honey dissolved in a liter of lukewarm water. The scent of this nectar will attract bees from the entire area straight to your garden bed. An alternative, and the most convenient one possible, is to choose modern parthenocarpic varieties for sowing. These extraordinary plants do not need insects or pollination at all to set a perfect, crispy cucumber. They produce exclusively female flowers, and regardless of whether it's raining or the wind is howling, every flower turns into a fruit. It's an investment in seeds that pays off tenfold and takes all the stress related to the lack of insects in your garden right off your shoulders. Even the strongest plant can succumb to the pressure of fungal diseases, especially the dangerous downy mildew, which can destroy a crop in 3 days. Instead of waiting for an attack and running to the store for expensive and harmful chemicals, apply prevention in the spirit of smart gardening. Once a week, perform a preventive spray using regular skim milk or whey. All you need is 1 liter of milk per 10 liters of water, with the addition of a few drops of pharmacy iodine. When you spray the leaves with this white solution in the sun, the milk proteins form a microscopic antibacterial coating on the plant's surface. This acts like an invisible raincoat that fungal spores simply cannot penetrate. Additionally, iodine has a strong disinfecting effect and stimulates the plant's immunity. This is an old, proven method of our grandparents, completely safe for the environment, insects, and your health. It costs pennies, and when used regularly, it will keep your bushes green and healthy right up until the frosts, producing cucumbers without any breaks for chemical treatments. Let's focus for a moment on plant stress caused by extreme heat. When the air temperature exceeds 32 degrees Celsius, the cucumber, even though it loves heat, panics, stops producing pollen, halts fruit growth, and simply fights for survival by pumping water into its leaves to cool them down. If you let it fry in full sun without protection, you will lose the most valuable weeks of summer fruiting. The solution to this is fabulously simple. Hang a shade cloth with about 40% permeability or a standard lightweight row cover over your structures. The diffused light will lower the temperature directly at the leaves by a few crucial degrees. Additionally, add an even thicker layer of light-colored mulch to the ground, such as straw, which will reflect the sun's rays and prevent the roots from overheating. By providing this slightly cooler microclimate during the biggest heat waves, you are tricking nature. Your bushes in the shade of the shade cloth continue to work at full capacity without interrupting flowering and fruit growth, giving you that huge dream yield of kilograms from every square meter. Harvesting cucumbers itself is not just a pleasure at the end of the work. It is also a crucial agro-technical procedure that stimulates further yield. Most amateurs let cucumbers grow until they become yellow, thick barrels. This is the greatest crime against the bush's productivity. When the seeds in the cucumber begin to ripen and harden, they release a specific hormone into the plant. This hormone is a signal to the bush with the message that the plant has fulfilled its reproductive purpose, successfully produced seeds, and can now peacefully begin to die. To keep the machine in constant motion and force it to produce new flowers, we must pick the fruit when they are still very young, small and bright green, without hard seeds. The best harvesting rhythm is a walk to the garden bed every 2 days. Leave absolutely nothing on the bush for later. By picking young fruit, we trick the plant's biological clock, which frantically tries to produce more pieces in order to finally bring seeds into the world. This simple action alone increases the total crop mass by an incredible 40% over the entire summer season. When late summer arrives at the turn of August and September, most traditional cucumber crops are already dry, yellow, and end up on the compost pile, but not in our lazy system, because ahead of us is a bush rejuvenating trick that hardly anyone has heard of. Over time, the lower part of the main stem on our vertical structure becomes bare, leafless, and heavily woody, and the bush only bears fruit at the very top under the roof. What do we do then? We gently untie the strings and lower the entire main shoot down by several dozen centimeters. We lay this bare, leafless section of the stem on our compost bed in the shape of a small circle and cover it with moist soil and mulch. What happens then? The cucumber shoot laid on wet soil will sprout a massive, completely new root system from its stem within 7 days. The plant gets an incredible boost of young roots and instantly puts out new leaves and flowers at the top, rejuvenating itself by almost a month. This one brilliant procedure allows you to harvest crunchy cucumbers even at the end of September and even in October, when the neighbors have long forgotten the taste of fresh vegetables. Our puzzle of abundant harvests is completed by the power of companionship, meaning properly selected neighbors for the cucumbers. Solitary garden beds are boring and susceptible to pest attacks. Let's introduce biodiversity, which will do the heavy protective work for us. Sow sweet corn around them. It will grow tall and create a natural green screen that will protect the delicate cucumber shoots from the destructive cold wind from the north. Be sure to sow plenty of dill between the cucumbers. Dill not only brilliantly improves the taste of the fruit itself, but its blooming umbels attract predatory wasps and ladybugs, which will happily eat any aphid trying to attack your plantation. And don't forget about marigolds. Planting these small yellow flowers right next to the cucumber roots releases substances into the soil that effectively repel and paralyze root nematodes, some of the most insidious underground pests. By creating such a small, cooperating plant community, you minimize the need for any intervention on your part. Nature takes care of nature. Insects eat the pests, and you simply come by once every 2 days with an empty basket, only to return to the kitchen with a basket full of fantastic harvests. Remember that consistency is what counts in this whole system. It is not enough to apply just one of these methods to suddenly achieve magical results. Lazy gardening is an interconnected system. No digging and a layer of cardboard retain moisture. The compost releases the heat needed by the shallow roots. Vertical trellising facilitates sun access, while natural sprays and fertilizers build a wall of immunity. When you trust these processes and stop forcefully interfering with the plant's natural rhythm, you will notice an incredible change. Your physical work on the plot will be reduced to a few minutes of pleasant walks with a watering can and pruning shears once every few days. You will get rid of the heavy shovel, expensive chemical fertilizers that destroy earthworms, and the frustration caused by the sight of diseased leaves. Start seeing your vegetable garden not as a battlefield for a hard fight for survival, but as an intelligent ecosystem where wisdom, not muscle power, dictates the size of the harvest. That promised 15 kilos is not a pipe dream. It is a very real, proven result waiting for you this season, provided you approach the matter with calmness and respect for nature. To summarize this massive pill of knowledge, remember the golden rule. Instead of focusing on fighting symptoms like weeds, drought, and diseases, prevent them at the very source. Compost mulch eliminates weeds and drought from day one. Proper pruning and pinching off early flowers give the plant time to build roots that will fend off later disease attacks. Design your cucumber beds this smartly once in May, and they will reward you with so much food that you will have to give away preserves to all your friends around you. In plot gardening, less work very often means higher returns, as long as that work was done smartly at the right time. And this is the biggest hidden secret that the industry quietly prefers to keep silent about, so that you keep coming back every year for new miracle potions in plastic bottles. Regain control over your garden. Take in hand only the simplest gifts of nature: compost, ash, water, and nettle extract. Become an observer of processes. Let the cucumbers climb freely toward the sun, and you will see how beautiful and generous nature can be when we remove the limitations invented by a flawed, traditional approach to cultivation. And that would be all, dear gardeners. We have reached the end of our journey through the fascinating world of lazy but incredibly productive gardening. I hope the methods we discussed today, from the cardboard shield protecting against weeds to the magical late summer rejuvenation procedure, have opened your eyes to how simple and joyful harvesting vegetables on your own plot can be. Remember that your health and free time are just as important as perfect fruit on the table. Applying these tricks saves years of hard and unnecessary work. By implementing this as early as May, in a few months you will feel that incredible satisfaction, harvesting the promised 15 kilos from every planted bush. If these cucumber growing secrets have changed the way you look at garden work, be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a thumbs up. We uncover the secrets of nature that others try to hide. Together, let's sow a future full of abundant harvests. Another treasure of gardening knowledge will be revealed very soon.